So where do the Spurs need improvement?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. TGIF, everybody. Hope you're having a great Friday, end of the work week. We're glad you're wrapping it up here with us right here on Locked On Spurs. As always, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app. You know where to go. Also, check out the Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below on the YouTube side of things. Click the link and sign up right now. It is completely free. Hope you do that ASAP. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, what are we talking about today? You can see on your screen, we're going to do a kind of a follow-up to yesterday's show where we looked at the Spurs rebuild. And as we're nearing the halfway point of the season, and not there yet, but we're close, we looked at yesterday where they have improved. And Vinny, he went philosophical. He went from the mindset. I dived into some of the numbers. We're going to do the same thing, but for the exact opposite. We're going to see where they still need to improve. They're still in the rebuild. They're not out of it yet. They're close, but they're not there yet. So just where do they need improvement? Is it a philosophical thing? Is it a numbers thing? Is it a roster thing? We'll be talking about that. And then preview tonight's rematch in San Antonio, Spurs and Grizzlies. So let's go and do that with our good friend. He is back, everybody. Joe Garcia of the Area 210 podcast. Joe, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. Good to be back. Our schedules aligned finally, where we can go ahead and talk San Antonio Spurs basketball. So Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it, man.
Yeah. You're wrapping us up here for the week. Locked On Spurs. All the pressure's on you, Joe. You're wrapping this up for the week.
Oh, I'm going to fold under pressure, Jeff.
No, don't fold. Don't fold. You never fold.
I'll be like, sure it hurts.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later on. Make sure to follow Joe on X at Area 210 Podcast. And he's rebranded. You can see on your screen on the YouTube side of the thing, you got a little alien with a sombrero on there.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Yeah, he's cool.
Man, they're
cool, Joe.
Yeah, Area 210, man. That's what we do. Talk San Antonio Spurs, anything local, and also, talking about the world of sports, entertainment, pop culture, basically anything we want to talk about, including maybe, some places to eat that are pretty cool here in San Antonio. And maybe Jeff might have a feature coming up soon because we do have to try our martini bar.
Ooh, yeah. That we do. We go top shelf, Joe. Not because it's money bagsing, but because, believe it or not, it's actually good financially long term. You get the buzz going earlier than later. So
that's you go drinking tips with Jeff.
Hey, that could be a good segment there. It's actually go. We would probably do that for Area 210. But anyway, Joe, why are you here? As you heard in the intro, we're looking at the Spurs and in their rebuild. Now, they're not of it yet. They got a big piece with Wemby. They got a good piece with Castle. We'll see how he pans out, but still not there yet. And out as we're approaching the halfway mark of the season, it's time to see where the Spurs team is. So we looked yesterday, Joe, at where they have improved. So we went from mindset. We went to some of the numbers, some of the defensive numbers that have improved a bit. But now we're going to look at the flip side, where they still need more work to be done. I think there's probably a lot more than where they are right now. So we'll try to narrow it down to a few spots here. But Joe, let's start it off with, before we get to the X's and O's in a bit, it just, sometimes the mindset is not there. I know Vinny yesterday said this team is more forceful. They want to win. They're not pushovers. But consistency, they're not consistent. And the good example is beating the Lakers in LA, just pummeling them, and then to wilting versus the Grizzlies late in the second half a couple of days ago in San Antonio. Joe, I think consistency is probably a big one.
It has a lot to do with not just consistency, but consistency across the board and doing the little things. They still sometimes have a lot of turnovers during games that kind of cost them, making little mistakes, as far as not being in the correct position, players are not, really doing, they're not conducive when it comes to floor spacings at times, getting caught in no man's land, then trying to kick the ball back out, and this is things that have been going back to rookie years with players like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, for example. They're not rookies anymore. We can't go ahead and give them a pass. It's Jeremy Sochan, taking ill-advised three-point shots when you're not a three-point shooter. Why are you camped out behind the three-point line? Get inside the paint. Go and do what you do. Do work down low. Get those rebounds. Go for the offensive rebounds. Set the picks. Set the screens. Move well without the ball. Do things that are conducive to your game. He's really good inside the paint. If he lives inside the paint, he's going to wind up getting good shots, a good shot selection. He's money, when he's inside the paint, close to the basket, he can go ahead and get those points for the team. But the team still has gaping holes. They don't really have a big man to back up Wemby. They need to, fix that issue. They need to find players who can shoot the ball consistently from the perimeter, knock down a three, Jeff. It's the modern NBA at this point in time. And what do? All teams shoot threes. We have no guys that can knock down a consistent three-point shot. So there's still, things that need to be fixed. But overall, the Spurs are playing better than they did last season. So it's not all doom and gloom. They are improving.
Yeah. Now, we did highlight yesterday as a positive the defensive stats numbers, and they technically have improved. Maybe not by a wide margin, but they're improving. But still, there is some defensive consistency now. I know you talked about just overall consistency. I'm going to be looking at defensive consistency. So the defensive rating is good. They're not tops in the NBA, but they're good. They're in the middle of the pack. Wemby, obviously, is going to help with that. But you have poor positioning sometimes. You have just the inefficiencies of just, you mentioned, the turning the ball over there. Even sometimes just fundamental defensive principles that you see this team kind of not have at times, basically defensive basketball IQ. So we need to see them reduce errors on that court and then just, I don't know, stop opposing teams in transition. That's one. That's always been an issue for the Spurs this season. Joe, we know defensively they're better this year. They are. The numbers do prove that.
Yeah.
But if I look at this team, I still think, and I agree with you, that three-point shooting is a must because Champagnie hasn't really been the knocking them down guy of late. He's kind of been erratic a little bit. He wasn't as consistent as he was to start the season. He's kind of been up and down. Do you think this team, to improve in the rebuild, should chase a three-point shooter at the trade deadline, waiver wire, or just wait till the offseason and then figure it out then?
That's up to the team. If you're asking Spurs fans, they want to see change now. They want to win now. And what fan base doesn't want to win now, right? Like the Spurs, they were at the pinnacle of what it was to be the ultimate professional in NBA sports, going on a tear here where it spanned 20 plus years of them consistently being in the playoffs. Now, not so much, getting a lot of inconsistent play, players kind of coming in and out because we're in the rebuild mode. Now they're trying to rebuild the team behind one Victor Wembanyama. And they still seem to not be able to figure it out with the pieces that they currently have on this team. At some point, Jeff, I think that the Spurs front office needs to come to the realization of there's a lack of talent on this team. And they definitely need to shore up that three-point shooting. If something, it works out for both parties, let's say the Spurs and another interested party that wants to make a trade, the Spurs, it would be, let's say, smart for them to go ahead and pull the trigger on that. They need to get a veteran, in my opinion, that can go ahead and knock down a consistent three-pointer. Doesn't mean that they have to go after a superstar, Jeff, and break the bank and, hey, you need to get this player because they're the best in the league. You just need somebody that's all right. They can't knock down an open three-point shot because this team, they just can't do that. Doesn't matter how big that rim is. If you leave them open from beyond the arc, the other team's going to say, show me. More times than not, it's going to be brick, brick, brick. So
you see that too when Sochan's out there. They'll sag off on him and just dare him to shoot a long distance shot. So it happens. One other thing too I want to bring up, Joe, where they need improvement is, and again, it's not an X's and O's thing. It's just physicality. How many times have we heard this season from the players to the coaching staff, from Pop before he got sick to Mitch Johnson now? Oh, the physicality got to us. Oh, we were out physical. Oh, we didn't bring it to them. Chris Paul saying, oh, this team doesn't have any grit at times. So you would think that these are pros and they would know how to just bring the war as well to the court, and they haven't, and usually that's what, if you look at some of the wins in the post-conference chats that the players and coaches have, you will hear more likely than not, lack of physicality. And I think what's happening now is our teams are using that as a defensive strategy against the Spurs, and Wemby getting physical with them, pushing them around. We saw that, what was that, in the loss to Milwaukee, where Milwaukee just bullied this team, and it worked. Milwaukee got the W, Spurs got the L. So I think, again, that mentality, Joe, of just being physical from jump to the end of the game, they have to do that. Sure, you can't play a perfect 48, and I get that. But try to be consistent with physicality. Joe, this is something the team lacks. And it's not just me saying it or you responding to it. The players and the coaches have said it, Joe. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a phrase, again, that was something that one of our listeners or the listeners on the Area 210 podcast have come and coined. It's called Wimpy Ganas. The team plays without any effort. That's what it basically means. Ganas is Mexican or Spanish for effort, right? So they say Wemby instead of Wemby when he doesn't play like Wemby, like he got bullied against Giannis. They call him Wimpy. And then they put lack of effort together, so you get the Wimpy Ganas. And that's what they're doing. They're not playing with the Ganas. They're not playing with that heart, that fire, that passion. They get bullied, and a lot of the teams in the NBA have already figured out one thing. If you get physical with one Victor Wembanyama, you cut the head off the snake, the rest of the team will fold because, let's face it, the rest of the team are just guys. They're not all-stars. They're not superstars yet. You have an all-star that's probably going to be one Victor Wembanyama. From looking at the latest voting, he's probably going to be in the NBA All-Star game this year, voted in by the fans. Beyond that, you just have a bunch of pieces around him, but these pieces need to get better. You need a better plethora of talent to be able to go out there and put the effort into every game and play physical. Even Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul, they can't seem to get this team to bring it together consistently. And I think that's the frustrating part from a veteran standpoint. You have the general out there in Chris Paul, and he's trying to yell at these players, and he's letting them know, you need to do this, you need to do that. But he can't go out there and play for them. Chris Paul's putting in the effort. Harrison Barnes, he puts in the effort. But these are your veteran players. These other guys, it's not like they're rookies anymore. They're veterans as well in the NBA. They just don't play with any heart and consistency. And at the end of the day, the coaching staff needs to kind of hold them accountable. And they kind of do. Mitch Johnson has said enough. And, post game, well, what does he say? The team didn't play with enough effort. He's calling them soft, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And although he hasn't used the word soft, but you can read between the lines what they're trying to say. Now, and what's frustrating is that word, or words, a lack of physicality, has been around even since the preseason. So this is something that was a problem even before the regular season started, and it's still, more often than not, rearing its ugly head. All right, so there you have it. We looked at some of the more just what the eye test tells us from the lack of physicality, obviously shooting from the perimeter, and inconsistency, as Joe brought up. But what did the numbers show? What did the stats show where the Spurs still need improvement? We're going to look at that when we get back right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia. He's with Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast and check out his show, Area 210 Podcast, on YouTube. He'll talk about that momentarily. But first, let's talk about Robinhood.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up today at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
As the new leader of the Decepticons, I command you to subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. Make sure you do that right now. Joe, I took your advice about that wipey thing, and it kind of worked a little bit on my calf. A little bit. Like right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked. I got to put a little bit more elbow grease in this one.
Yeah. You know, one thing you can do too, I mean, you got to really use a couple wipes in there. You got to really dig in there, you know?
Yeah.
And it'll get rid of all that stuff. But if it doesn't get rid of it, best thing you can do too, just give it an old-fashioned scrubbing, dude. Put it in the sink, fill it up with water, put a little bit of Dawn dish soap in there.
Yeah.
And just scrub that sucker good.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, last time Joe was on, he gave me some tips how to clean my cap. And it worked a little bit, except I think I was just more nervous, Joe, about ruining the cap. You're like, oh my God, it has bleach in it. Who's going to ruin the black brim here?
I've used it plenty of times here, and it doesn't ruin the cap, man.
All right. Well, Joe and I, we're talking about where the Spurs still need to improve as they inch towards the halfway point of the season. And, of course, still being technically in a rebuild. All right. So, Joe, we kind of gave our eye test thoughts to start the show. Let's look at the numbers now. Now, we're going to compare last year to this year. Okay. We're going to technically call the start of the rebuild when Wemby came in. So we'll use last year's 22-win season compared to this one. Now, caveat, Joe, we got to put it out there. You know, Spurs fans are. Yes, we know they haven't finished a full season to really compare last season to this season. We get that. So we understand that. But we're just trying to see where the numbers are trending. In this case, maybe trending badly as the rebuild continues. So, yes, we know. And, Joe, the eye test showed us, you know, shooting. The numbers show us. So let's look at the three-point shooting. So last year, the Spurs finished the season shooting 34% from the three line. This year, it's still at 34%. Joe, they still have not improved in that department as of this point of the season. I know we still got a chunk left, everybody. We understand that. But you're still not seeing improvement. And, Joe, I don't think if the numbers don't lie, unless they do something drastic, like bring in a Luke Kennard or something like that, they might stay right there and not really show that much improvement from the three line, where in the NBA you need it. Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what happens when you just kind of sit down and don't do nothing in the offseason as far as shoring that up. Spurs have had their opportunities over the course of the last couple of seasons, and they've done nothing to really shore up the three-point shooting. They just have the guys that they have now. We like the team we have, right? That mentality's gotten them absolutely nowhere when it comes to the three-point prowess. It seems like it's just been even keel. It's been mediocre for quite some time. And you got to, at the end of the day, Jeff, it comes down to the talent that's here. When you look at the Spurs compared to some of the other teams in the West, this team is just not talented enough to compete on that high level. And the same thing goes with other teams in the NBA. Not even just complaining about or comparing the West. It's also the East. When you have the upper echelon teams, the Spurs have proven that they just can't keep up, especially when it comes to the three-point shooting prowess of said teams in both conferences. The Spurs definitely need to look at something in the offseason to go ahead and fix that, whether it be trade, going after free agents. Something needs to happen in order for them to improve.
Who's that shooting doctor the Spurs had? Chip Baker. Or just bring him back. Just bring him back.
He ain't coming back. They let him go. They let him go.
OKC now, man. So I think he's in a better spot right now.
And where's OKC in the West?
Oh, man, they're running away with it, Joe. They are running away with it. All right, we're going to stick with shooting and then just look at overall field goal percentage, Joe. This one is a little concerning. It's trending the wrong way. So just overall field goal percentage shooting, the Spurs last year finished 46%. This year, they're at 45%. So they dropped a percentage point there. Sure, yes, keep in mind they did not finish the full season, but you don't want this to trend in the downwards position. This is where it's going, Joe. Joe, when I look at the Spurs shooting, not only do they have lack of three-point shooting, they have lack of consistent shooters. Can we even say they have a mid-range shooter, guys? I don't know. Do we? I don't think they do, right?
No.
Just mid-range guys.
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, again, the Spurs right now is currently constructed, Jeff, and I've gone on the show, on our show, Area 210, and said this as much. What's the one thing that you always have in common when you're on the south side or west side of town at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m.? Don't we always have that one Honda that's running down the street with the loud muffler, that sounds like a lawnmower? And right, the car looks nice right on the outside. It has a nice paint job, the loud muffler. But under the hood, man, what is it? It's a four-cylinder. It's not going to be able to be
Four-banger.
it's not going to be able to compete against, these muscle cars, these souped up rides that they have out there on the streets, That's the Spurs, man. You're only as good as the engine will take you, and right now they're just basically a four-cylinder. They're not even a V6 right now, Jeff. I mean, they have a nice paint job. They got the wing on the car, but it's still not fast, man. It's still not fast. And that's the Spurs as currently constructed. The team doesn't have the talent. And I think that's the one thing that Spurs fans have to come to the realization of. Doesn't matter how much you get enamored with said players. They're only as good as their record says they are. And currently it's telling you that they're just a 500 team.
Yeah. Yeah, they are what they are. And right now, I think even Vegas updated their odds, right, Joe? They're now hovering around the 40 mark now. Went from 36 to 40.
I still think it's going to fall around 38, 39. We called it, and before the season even started, we said it's going to be 35 to 38. I'm still going to stick with that. I haven't seen the improvement, Jeff, and you firing off the numbers you believe this team's going to win 40, 41 games?
Now, you know what? No one will answer that. Their upcoming road trips.
Mm-hmm.
So
the rodeo road trip?
The rodeo road trip, and then, even I think that will probably tell us what the Spurs are.
What about the games in Paris?
Yeah, this coming up soon, I think, in a couple of days. So we'll see what they do. But, you look at the numbers, and that is the number one neon highlighted in red bold-faced letters that said the biggest need for this improvement is just shooting, and which is amazing, Joe. And not in a good way, but in a bad way. You would think that the scouting, GMs, the coaching staff would say, no, we got to bring in the shooters.
Yeah.
And they haven't done that. Champagne's doing the best he can do. When Wemby is arguably one of your better shooters on the team, that says something. No knock on him, but still, it says like, hey, where are you, Devin? Your development. KJ, I think KJ, he is what he is at this point in the season, in his career, right, Joe?
Yeah, he is. I think the biggest question here, and I think this is a topic that me and you should talk about really, is have Spurs fans seen Devin Vassell reach his ceiling? This is who he is. This is the best that you're going to see of him. He's not an NBA rookie anymore. He's a vet. Same thing with Keldon. This is the best, I believe, that you're going to see of said player. There's not another gear to where they can go. This is it. At the end of the day, do you move forward with these pieces that you have around Wemby? Because Wemby needs an NBA star next to him, another one. You need to at least have two to be able to compete. Spurs have one and a bunch of dudes. You need somebody else that's going to be able to go ahead and take over in crunch time when everybody wants to go ahead and double and triple team Wemby, get physical with him. The other the NBA, let's say the teams around the NBA, they already know if they go ahead and just focus on him, the rest of the team's going to fall because they can't knock down a consistent jump shot. They can't go ahead and knock down a consistent 3-point shot. You need a superstar that can take over the dynamic of a game when it comes to those crunch time minutes, right? When the game is close and the Spurs might be down by 3 or 4 or 5 points, that can kind of bring you back into the game, get to the free throw line, Jeff, stop the clock, knock down some shots, and make things interesting. The Spurs don't have that second guy. At times you get flashes from guys here and there, Jeremy Sochan included. You might have a good game here and there from Zach Collins. Those are far and few between, but there's no consistency. They do need some better talent around Wemby. And again, Jeff, I think it's a good topic that we're going to have with one Devin Vassell. Has he reached his pinnacle?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm leaning towards maybe. I think that might be who he is. And you brought up another good point that I was going to bring up is something we haven't discussed is roster construction. You hit the big nail right on the head, number 2 guy for Wemby. Will it be Castle? Can it still be Devin? Don't know. That's on shaky ground. We don't know. So either they address that now, trade deadline, or wait to the offseason where they can either draft a guy, move up the draft, trade for a free agent. An established player, go after a big name free agent. So I think that's where it is. Could it be De'Aaron Fox, as everybody's been talking about in the rumor mill? Maybe.
He's a better version of Devin Vassell. Let's be honest.
That might be your number 2 guy there if the Spurs make a push now. So we went from shooting as the obvious glaring wart on this team to the second glaring obvious wart on the team is, as the rebuild continues, a second guy to Wemby, a complementary piece. But I mean, look what it took for the Spurs, to get the W versus the Lakers. Now, of course, it was an easy win. They cruised to it, but they had several guys in double figures. That was the help that Wemby needed. And you look at what happened against Memphis, that fizzled out. And look, Wemby didn't do himself any good as well. He didn't have a Wemby-like game. But even when he has bad days, who's going to be that other guy the Spurs can turn to and say, you know what, our go-to guy, Wemby's out. He's not feeling good. He's not having his game right now. Hey, secondary co-star, can you do it?
Could that be Jeff Garcia?
Hey, it could be me. Hey, I'll be down with that.
You even have the Superman shirt on. You're giving us hope. Yeah, come on.
But you know what? The only reason why I'm wearing the Superman shirt is because I have the green screen.
Right.
And every T-shirt I put on is an issue.
Is it blue or green?
I don't even know. Sometimes they're like yellows and it'll like sparkle. It'll sparkle. And I'm like, what is this?
You should just wear like a green shirt so you just be like a floating head,
You know what? I forgot about that the other day, and I put on a green T-shirt and I sat down and I was like, oh my god! And I had to get back up and change it.
Oh man!
But I had to find like bolder colors, like darker colors,
muted
color, grays colors, grays to wear. But anyway, yeah. So I think they do need a second Superman on the team. We're gonna go that route. Yeah, they definitely do. And
for BU, Jack, you got the guns.
I got the guns, man. Joe, you got the power, man. You got the lower half waist down power, man.
You know who doesn't have the guns?
Easy got. What's that?
Michael Jimenez, dude. Remember, he always says he's sneaky athletic, Jeff.
Hey, I tried to train him one day. I tried, and he vanished. He disappeared on me. He never got back to me again. But no, Joe. So we're looking at what the numbers show us. We talked about the big issue with that, the shooting. And, I wouldn't call it numbers, more just roster construction. That is still a big need the Spurs need in the rebuild, is building the roster around Wemby. They have pieces now that they can flip. They have pieces now that'll maybe be here for a little while. Castle, hopefully he pans out. I think he will. So they got something going on, but it still needs tweaking. So from roster construction to shooters, this Spurs team has a lot on their plate. He is Joe Garcia with Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. Hey, when we get back, we're going to look at tonight's game, Spurs Grizzlies, round 2. Who will win? We're going to find out right here with Joe Garcia. But first, let's talk about Skims.
When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims. Well, they got the 5-inch, the stretch 5 boxer brief, and let me tell you, those come in handy. As you know, I work out a lot, nearly 5 days a week. Can't tell you, these stretch 5 boxer briefs, I've never liked anything else but them since I've been working out with them at Well. They give me all the movement I need for working out, plus without feeling like I'm walking around wearing gym clothes the rest of the day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up, and maybe it's just my head, but I swear, since I started wearing these, my gains have improved too. You want to go to skims.com/LockedOnNBA right now, and then go to the Skims store. So shop Skims Men once again at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. And let me tell you, you let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menus that follows. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, so many ways to bet, keeps the game, every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. So whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. You want to go there right now. You want to go visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I am Megatron. Do not fail me and subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. And Joe, I don't know if you heard it right now, but Megatron let us out of the break, by telling everybody to subscribe to Locked On Spurs. When Megatron speaks, Joe, you got to listen.
Yeah, of course you got to listen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What was better, man? Megatron or Galvatron?
I still say Megatron. Megatron was more of a get my hands dirty kind of leader.
Galvatron took care of business, man.
He on the throne.
He took out Starscream, man. You remember the movie?
Everybody wanted to. Everybody wanted to. Joe, you would have taken a shot at him too.
Yeah, he finally got his revenge, man. Have you seen the movie? The best movie ever, right, Jeff?
Best Transformer movie ever, yes. Transformer 1 definitely leapfrogged to the number 2 spot. So, yeah, it was a good movie. I highly recommend seeing that movie, everybody. And even if you're not a Transformer fan, it's just a good movie. But anyway, Spurs, Grizzlies tonight. Joe, round 2. Spurs hung in there for a while in game 1 a couple days ago in San Antonio. I think they lose. Let's see if I got it here. Well, they got just demolished in the third quarter where the Grizzlies scored like 40-plus points in the third, and that was all she wrote for the Spurs. But nevertheless, Joe, what I'm looking for is just, as Devin Vassell said, to Mitch Johnson said, stick to the game plan. In the first half, Joe, you saw the Spurs really take it to Memphis, really go toe-to-toe with them. They had a double-figure lead on them, and then they went away. They let the players penetrate into the paint. They let Ja Morant get cooking late in the game. You got open shooters from Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane knocking down shots. Joe, I said it in the preview for Game 1 Spurs Grizzlies. I'll say it now for Game 2. The defense. I even said it on your show, Joe, a couple of days ago when we were talking about Spurs Grizzlies. What did I say? Wemby's going to have a monster defense. Because there's so many guys coming at him and the team as well, not just Wemby, the whole team from JJJ, Triple J, Jaren Jackson, to Kennard, to Bane, to Morant. They got so many weapons, and I really felt the defense needed to be there, and it was there for a while, and the wheels came off, Joe. So I'm going to stick with that. They got to play defense, interior defense, and on the perimeter. Joe, your thoughts?
No, they do. They have to get better in those aspects of the game. But the thing is that the Spurs have shown that they're just not very consistent. Memphis has kind of fallen a little bit in the standings because they've had a couple of games they've dropped there in a row. They needed a much-needed win. On the road, they got one against the San Antonio Spurs. I think what's going to happen is more of the same offering. You're going to wind up having the Memphis Grizzlies best the San Antonio Spurs once again because, again, they're going to find out late in the game that if you go ahead and focus on Victor Wembanyama, the rest of the team will fold. I think that same thing is going to happen.
Yeah, and the third quarter woes, are starting to pop up again a little bit. Is that a trend? I hope it's not trending that direction. It was really trending in the right direction to start the season, where the Spurs were hanging on to leads, third quarter leads. They would hang on to it, take it into the fourth quarter, and get W's. That's been kind of trending the wrong way. We've seen that. We saw that versus the Lakers. In that third quarter, the Lakers stormed back. We saw that a couple days ago against Memphis. The Memphis Grizzlies stormed back and took the lead. So that's a trend that we don't like, going that direction. I think Zach Edey and Wemby will be fun to watch. That'll be good to see. I'm also interested to see how Wemby will respond after having a subpar game, according to his standards.
Yeah.
In that first game versus Memphis, I'm expecting a monster game tonight from him. Castle, he had himself a career night in scoring. Hopefully he'll duplicate that. Joe, it comes down to just all hands on deck. Everybody has to contribute. It can't just be Wemby and that's it. It can't be Castle and nobody else. It's got to be Wemby. It's got to be Castle. It's got to be Devin. It's got to be everybody.
Yeah, it's got to be the starting lineup, the best starting lineup that the Spurs have that'll give you a chance to win. In one, Victor Wembanyama, Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, Champagny, and who else? Stephon Castle out there. They need to go ahead and have that starting five out there to give them a better chance, because when they had that starting five out there, what were they doing? They were winning games. You had Devin Vassell, you had Jeremy Sochan coming off the bench. I think they need to revert back to that because it gives them balance in that second unit while it still goes ahead and allows the team to get out to a good start and give themselves a fighting chance. But again, they still kind of seem to toy with things a bit, and we're already more than almost at the halfway mark of the season. The Spurs have literally almost played, I believe, 40 games already. If not, they're at 39 going to 40. There's an 82 game. That's an 82 game season. You can't say, oh, we're almost near the halfway mark. No, it's here. And I think what we're going to do too, Jeff, either you're coming on next Wednesday on the show, or maybe another episode for Locked On with me and you. We're going to have to hand out mid-season grades for this team, and really focus on areas that need to be improved on, and also said players as well,
Yeah, Joe, what grade are you giving this guy that you see on your screen right now, huh? A++++?
I'm going to go ahead and give Wemby. I think he's been playing great, I'm going to give him an A so far. Rest of the team, not so much.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see how this team finishes out the season. We're not at the halfway point yet, but we're getting close. And Joe, I want to get your thoughts. I'm going to put this picture up here real fast for you to see. What do you think of what's going on with Jeremy Sochan? He's been out for a while with back issues.
If you really want to know the skinny on what I have to say about that,
I do want to know.
Try to watch the show, the Area 210 podcast. I will not go ahead and give that slander here on the Lows, on Locked On Spurs, man. But I got my theories on what's going on with him, So if you know, you know.
Can I take a guess?
Oh, yeah, you can take a guess.
You think they're shopping him?
I don't know it's so much the shopping him. I just think that maybe he's fallen out of, let's say, favor with the staff, because at some point you keep on going out there and working with this kid. You've put in so much effort to try to fix a shot that was broken in college. How is that going to go ahead and automatically you're going to be able to fix that at the NBA level? You're not. Jeremy Sochan was always coming off the bench at Baylor. You drafted him high in the draft. You're expecting him to flourish here in the NBA? I think the kid is who he is. He's just very inconsistent at times. He's not a very good perimeter jump shooter. He can't shoot a three, but what he can do, he's above average when you compare it to the other teams, to the other players on this team as far as defense. He's not a lockdown defender by any means. He's just a little bit above average when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs. And that's all he is. If he played anywhere else right now, Jeff, on any other team in the NBA, does he come off and in the starting unit? Probably not. He's going to be coming off the bench. And the thing is it's like this, right? Spurs, the talent pool that they have right now just ain't it, man. But what happens is Spurs fans, they see the ex-girlfriend go and flourish with somebody else. A new move, right? And that's what happened with Derek White, right? That's what happens with other ex-Spurs. Oh, I wish him well. Look he's winning a championship. Once a Spur, always a Spur. Come on. Stop it. Stop it. Why are they playing good with another team? Because they're surrounded by better talent. Same thing would happen with Jeremy Sochan. If he left the Spurs and played with another team, mira Jeremy, look at how good he's doing. Why couldn't he do that with the Spurs? It's because the talent that he's surrounded by, this ain't it, man.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got to check out Area 210 podcast for hot takes like that from Joe and Mike Jimenez. Joe, tell us what you got cooking over there at Area 210. How can fans subscribe? And congratulations, 2,000 plus subscribers.
Yeah, we're going to be celebrating here next week. We've already reached 2,229 subscribers strong, and we're trying to reach our goal of 2,300 by the end of the month, which is very obtainable. We are going on Monday through Friday. We are live on our YouTube channel, which is the Alamo City Podcast Network. Me and Mike Jimenez are the guys that are behind the scenes. I'm behind the scenes. I'm the producer. Mike is the host. I'm the co-host of the show. Happens every day, Monday through Friday from 10 to about 11:30. Again, we talk about sports, pop culture, entertainment, whatever you want to talk about. we talk about. Sometimes we go off topic because the chat is coming in fast and furious, and the viewers are the ones that dictate the flow of the show. So it's always fun. Mike can go on a rant sometimes, and viewers call him out, and he gives you gold every day, Jeff. Every day. Before the show's even over, Jeff's already cooking Mike. I'm like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like death, taxes, and cooking Mike at this point.
Every
But again, check out Joe on X as well at Area 210 Podcast, and check out the show too, because I'm pretty sure he'll give out more details about the subscriber party they're going to have very, very soon. So again, congratulations, Joe, on that. Much success to you and your show. And we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever we get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kensfly Plus app. Check out the Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below on YouTube. Click on that link. It is completely free, so sign up today. That'll be it for this week on Locked On Spurs, and we'll be back next week as the Spurs season continues, covering everything regarding your silver and black. So for Joe Garcia, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.